All right, so good morning, you salty pukes. Anyways, we head south. We're getting a little bit more vegetation. I think it's probably the fog, but also it's just we're getting a little bit out of the Atacama Desert. You can still see we got the Copiapoas going around. Got a nice heliotropium shrub over there. Got a real nice Fabaceae right here. Weird variation on a theme. You can see it's photosynthesizing through its stems too. It's probably it's got the leaves out because it's doing rather well right now, at least in terms of moisture, but I'm sure it can completely drop them, go drought deciduous, much like one of our species of Hoffmannseggi in the Northern Hemisphere can in times of drought. Check out those nice ketchup and mustard Caesalpinoid flowers. It's a pretty nice genus. There's that Copiapoa again, just clumping up. Got a senna. And over here we got another weird cactus. This is a species of Miqueliopuntia is the genus. Wait, where'd it go? Here it is. Yeah, no, it is too. All right, so it looks like, I'm guessing it's Opuntioid subfamily. Don't quote me on it, though. I haven't looked into it. The fruits sure look Opuntioid. That is the prickly pear subfamily. And it seems like it's got the glochids, which are pretty irritating and obnoxious. At least, hopefully, to the right people. Much like I try to be. You can see it's got these long spines. The spines don't have barbs on them, though, which is breaking with the tradition of many of the other choyas. Got the Eulychnia still with the velvety areoles. And interesting plant I want to show you if I can find it again. Now this fucker, when I first seen it, I thought that it was a, obviously this is probably old ocean front. See how nicely tumbled these rocks are? And they're everywhere. And so it doesn't seem, unless it was a very large, wide river, seems like this is probably the ocean front. There's that senna again. Speaking of Caesalpinoid flowers of the pea family. Now this plant, I thought this was, because I only seen one of them. And I thought it was somebody threw away a pink starburst wrapper or some shit on the ground, just littering and whatnot. But it turns out it's actually a species in the Convolvulaceae, the morning glory family. You could see quite conspicuous flowers and rather inconspicuous foliage. Of course, probably to avoid being gnawed on. Here you can see it twining up this Eulychnia. Isn't that nice? There's another one over there. Fucking Atacama Desert, man. Now there is some trash here, so you can't fault me too much, It's just smattering of garbage. Not like Mexico, though, where there seems to be garbage just thrown about everywhere. Let's see what else we got going on up here. Miqueliopuntia looks kind of nice. Now look at the colors. Nice white spines, kind of a blue epidermal thing going on. That's pretty good. It's like a nice blue tan. Look, it's one of the 9,000 species of Nolana in Chile. There's so many different kinds. Some of them look succulent, like a sedum, which this almost does a little bit. But, you got the same thing going on. Tubular flowers, Solanaceae, nightshade family. I don't even, they could be hard. You see what you see. I don't want to say you've seen one Nolana, you've seen them all, but you've seen one Nolana, you've seen quite a few of them. I like, I enjoy the variations on a theme and what the shit, but it does get tiring after a while. Always happy to see them. I get them down to genus and don't really care to go beyond that. There's that Miqueliopuntia again. Does he got the glochids? I don't know. You ever heard of a beach that was made out of these pebbles? I mean, look, this is total oceanfront. This was oceanfront property in the Miocene, probably. Maybe a little bit later than that. You go up to the Pacific Northwest, you could go up to like a Rialto Beach, you could hear the waves crashing, tumbling all the rocks. There's no sand, it's just these rocks. It makes a real nice sound. Look at that, a whole rocky hillside, former oceanfront property, 4 or 5 million years ago, now covered in Copiapoa. Take your cactus to the beach. This hillside's infested with Copiapoa. There's probably 300 or 400 different plants right there. Look at it, all of them. And then that little Convolvulaceae, actually maybe not on this hill because it's too dry. I think it's too dry. Everything's dry. It's roasted. Eulychnia too. New Eulychnia up there. Yeah, well, that was nice. We just had our first big encounter with a large city, a large metropolitan area, for the first time in about 300 or 400 kilometers. We just been going through the Atacama, and it was a nightmare like they normally tend to be. just, you know, rife with all the humanistic deficits that you tend to get with modern retail capitalism. You know, there's plenty of opportunities for shopping, plenty of opportunities for being robbed. Apparently a very high class division between rich and poor. And the supermarket, I went in there to get some instant coffee, and you know, they had a goddamn fence around the whole thing, probably to protect it from being looted by the inevitable have-nots that will exist in you know, modern retail capitalism. So I just it was a bummer. So we got the shit out of there like it was on fire. Anyway, can't wait till that stage of human history is over. Look at this beautiful Trichocereus going off, coming up on the Eulychnia. It's actually in bloom here. Again, you can see that normally you see them at the top of these cacti because that's where the birds hang out. Birds disperse the seed. So there was a bird hanging out here, took a shit. The seed was in the shit, and then it germinated, and then of course you get the plant growing here. The entire plant, of course, lives within this cactus, only coming out the flower and produce fruit. And there you go. There's a beautiful flower right there, pollinated by hummingbirds. That wind is really a motherfucker. And there's the fruit too. Just a little berry. So you can see we're almost back at the fog bank, getting closer to the ocean. Hopefully there'll be a lot more shit going off once we get to those cooler temps. You know, we just been going through the Atacama. There hasn't been much. You know, but now, again, once you get closer to the fog, plant diversity just increases. I mean, it goes literally from there being no plants about 10 miles inland, just really barren desert, to there being just incredible plant diversity. You know, a lot of interesting desert stuff. And then, of course, the further south you go, you start to get into the matorral and more of that Mediterranean climate type stuff and out of the desert. Look at this nice cope. Well, look at this. Look, the Trichocereus is growing on Miqueliopuntia too. So it's not a specificist. It's more of a generalist. You know, it'll take what it can get, I guess. Anyway, you ever see that? Did you ever see that Mel Gibson movie Apocalypto? I know he's a drunk and an anti-Semite, but he made a couple good movies. I still got good memories of sneaking into Passion of the Christ, laughing our asses off and getting hammered throughout the whole film. You know, and I think that was Houston, like 2004. We did that. But he made that movie Apocalypto, which is good. It's got kind of, you know, it kind of brings to mind what I'm feeling right now. Remember when that spot when the forest people get captured by the Mayans, and the Mayans are bringing them back through the city, and you know, they go through the city and they're walking back, and they just walk through a whole bunch of depressing shit, and there's lepers and sick people, and you know, a whole bunch of poor people, and everything's kind of fucked up, and you know, they're just kind of like, what the shit is this? That's kind of how I felt. It's kind of how I always feel going back to any urban area from being out here. Anyway, check out this Trichocereus. Again, I know I'm kind of hamming it up with this plant, but it's so goddamn nice. And there's the fruits. They kind of stink, you know. They're kind of squishy inside, and the radicle is actually green inside. So I guess they're technically hemiparasites. They do have some chlorophyll for the first stage of their life cycle. Oh, I bet there's some real good stuff up there. Look at that. And that hillside all covered in fog. Yeah, alright. Okay, that don't seem too bad. Don't seem too bad. You know, this stuff is everywhere. Jesus. Anyway, look at that big boulder full of olivine and pyroxene. Just a giant green boulder. Probably slightly cooked. A little metamorphic. Nice color though, huh? Hints of a subduction zone. Not always, but a lot of the time. Here we go, a massive Puya, just a giant clump. Wonder how old that is. This is a really mean plant. Look at those look at those spines on the margins. Look at the marginal little hooks. Sharp as razors. Some point in, some point out. Imagine getting naked and falling into that. It'd be terrible. Beautiful flowers on these fuckers though. Incredible. You know, some are Some are like translucent blue, depending on the species. Puya berteroniana has translucent blue ones. You got the bright green ones, yellow. A couple do purple, bright purple. Anyway, there's some nice metamorphics going on here too. Look at the color of that rock. Moving on up. Okay, so we were going up and it was kind of a bust, It's fucking incredibly dry. It's toasty, The rocks are nice. The Eulychnia looks nice, but there's not going to be anything flowering. So it's basically just going for a fucking walk, which I could do anywhere. Don't need to be doing it here. We're gonna go see if we could chase some fucking flowers. Maybe go up to the Andes or something. I don't know. Who the fuck knows? Just this place is beat though. There's nothing. I mean, it's just look at it. Even a fucking Oxalis gigantea. There's not a leaf on it. So everything's dormant. Is it nap time? I don't mean to disturb you, sir, but could you tell me, did you see anything flowering anywhere? Because I'll be honest with you, it seems pretty toasty. I just wanted to come up and ask you a question, that's it. I feel like you're not listening to me. Can you just, please, sir? You live around here, you've been around these parts, you know them well. Have you seen anything It's so brown. It's so brown and so dry. It's not a good year. Okay? Do you know anything about that? Excuse me. Alright. Oh, look, it's a couple of guanacos. I wonder if they know where I can get any agua con gas. Hello? Excuse me. Do you want to get in the van? I got agua con gas. We'll go look at some plants and shit. You ever been to the mountains before? We're only at about, 2,000 feet here. We're gonna go up to 8,000 feet tonight. We get the agua con gas. Come on, get in the van. Okay, so, I asked them, they said they didn't want any gas. They didn't want any con gas. They didn't want synth water. They don't want to, I can't blame them, They're pretty good looking for a couple of camelids. No offense to any camelids. Anyway, the wind's still a real pisser. It's dry as hell. But over here we got a pretty interesting plant. Remember the Convolvulus? It's amazing it's even blooming right now when everything else is seemingly dead or dormant. Here's a species of Lobelia. Oh, it's a coalescent. It's an arborescent lobelia. It's actually more like a subshrub, but you can see it's got a pretty good woody stem down there. If I could step over this Eulych without puncturing my groin area, we'll get up close and look at the morphology of this wonderful flower. So that red tongue looking thing on the bottom is basically 5 fused petals all stuck together, forming a little bag. And then of course, it looks like you got the anthers fused together too, coming out, forming that little antenna. And then of course, somewhere in there it's got to be the stigma. I've seen some big ass lobelias in Mexico before, but I've never seen one like this, with the woody tissue and with the shit. That's pretty impressive, especially since it's growing in the goddamn Atacama. Oh, look, it's that Trichocereus over there. Especially since it's growing in the goddamn Atacama Desert, during an extremely dry spell. All that fog is burned off. Yeah, we gotta get the fuck out of here. We're gonna go to the mountains probably. You know what's going on now. Don't pass the water. There you go. We just put a little bit of water in that thing for this guy. We're not gonna mess with you. You gotta drink that water. You gotta drink that water. Drink that water. Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's right. And we'll fill it up. You know what? I'll just cut my goddamn con gas water container open and leave that out for you, because that's not going to be enough water for you. Oh yeah, look at this little fox tongue come out there. Look at him. Sometimes you got to give the foxes water. This little fucker's out here all on his own, dry as a bone. And he doesn't care if you give it to him con gas or not. Gasificata. Actually, maybe you're not supposed to drink carbonated water if you're a fox. I don't know. I didn't know what you're doing. You're not getting any food out of us. That's too much. Okay? You want some more? You want some more agua? We'll give you some agua. All right. What are you doing? You want some nuts? Okay. You know, maybe I got a little bit of trail mix in my bag. I'll give you. That's it. That's it. All right. Fuck it. You win. All right. Look, you're gonna get all this. But didn't you ever hear about that lady who drank too much water at once? You know, it was like a game for the radio station, and she drank too much water and then she died. Okay, so just go easy on this, not all at once, all right? I'll put on this little Eulychnia for you, okay? Okay, now as we proceed south towards Santiago, Central Chile's in a drought, so not a lot's going to be going on, but I want to take a minute to show you some of the interesting trees you got going on down here, okay? Like this one, Vachellia caven. Used to be an acacia, but of course the genus Acacia is now restricted to, I think like 99% Australia. Look at those big ass pods. You got those pinnate leaves down there, and you got you should have the spines. Yeah, there you go. Stipular spines right at the nodes. You got those spines at the nodes as opposed to in between the nodes, the leaf nodes. You know, and when they split acacia up, that was one of the main directives that they issued. That when these botanists did that shit, you know. It's all based on where the spines are arranged. Is it in Vachellia or the other genus they split it up into? Anyway, there you go. Vachellia caven. Real feathery leaves. Kind of smells pretty nice, too. Oh, the glorious sounds of the freeways. I think we're up to like 14 piss bottles now in the last 36 hours that we've counted. Anyway, now this one's pretty interesting. Take a look, take a gander at this, and tell me what family you think this might be in. Okay, I'll give you a hint. Pay attention to the venation of those leaves. Don't got any flowers to show you, unfortunately, not even dried ones, because again, we are in a drought. But now if you're thinking it looks a little bit like one of the sumacs, one of the lemonade bushes down in Southern California, you'd be correct. This is Lithraea caustica, and you might notice too that not only is the species epithet caustica, i.e. caustic, but I'm also not touching this plant. It's because it is in a poison oak family, also the mango family, the cashew family, and you know, I basically don't want to get an ass rash, which is what this plant might do. It's been known to do that. Anyway, there you go, Lithraea caustica. Real nice venation on those leaves, real distinct. You know, looks very Anacardiaceous. Anyway, look, even the cacti are having a shit of a time. Here we got two pretty interesting genera of cacti. They look a lot alike at first, but there's one. You can see it on the back. One in the back is a different one. You got an Echinopsis. I think they might have thrown us in Trichocereus. Now, I don't know what the fuck these guys are doing. You know, these cactus guys could be a real pain in the ass. They're obsessed about the taxonomy. This fucking plant's been in 3 or 4 different genera in the last 10 years. Can't keep track anymore. It might be Echinopsis chiloensis. Maybe it's Trichocereus now. But you can see the spines are a lot thicker on this guy. And then look at that Eulychnia back there. The spines are almost hairs on that guy. They're longer, they're thinner. And then if you were to get up and look at those areoles on this bastard, yeah, you'd see the difference too. Also, the flowers are much different. You know, I don't know if you can see that up there, but Eulychnia's got very distinct. There's a bud right there. Where is it? Right there. So you got a species of Echinopsis and a species of chiloensis. You know, I really hope I don't break out in an ass rash now that I touched that goddamn plant. Look at it, look at the Eulychnias. Pretty interesting what they're doing. Their spines are almost becoming hairs. Again, to limit that ultraviolet radiation, limit that sun. This isn't a hot desert, you know, but it's just an extremely dry one. Look at this guy. Look at this Echinopsis. Echinopsis / Trichocereus / whatever the fuck they decide they want to call it next week. Just a nice little cactus garden here. Oh, nice senna. Of course not fly. It's really boned. I don't even know why I'm showing you this. Am I an asshole or what? I think so. The thing to pay attention to with this Echinopsis is see those prominent tubercles. The ribs are broken up into little tubercles, little secondary tubercles. Okay, and the spines, of course, they're like toothpicks. They're thick as hell. Now look at that Eulychnia. Again, thinner spines, just straight ribs, not divided into tubercles. You know, the little individual segments along the ribs, just straight ribs. I don't know what good that's going to do you in life, but hey, fuck, now you know. There you go. So it's like the climatic equivalent, roughly, of Southern California. You know, like Riverside County. Maybe not as bleak as Riverside County, but kind of, you know, same thing. And as you go south towards Santiago, it's like going north up towards the Bay Area, you know, and then, of course, you go further south towards Puerto Montt, towards those temperate Valdivian rainforests where they got the alert season with the shit. It's like going towards Seattle. Much more rainfall. Anyway, let's get the fuck out of here. It's dry as hell. There's nothing going on. It's toast. Okay, so closer to the metropolitan area, continue to head south to Santiago. We're a little bit north of Valparaiso now. You can see more of that Echinopsis chiloensis on a beach. All the cacti in Chile, or at least a lot of them, seem to like hanging out on the beach. You know, which explains why they grow so well in a mild maritime Mediterranean climate like, you know, San Francisco. They do pretty well. Any Mediterranean climate, these goddamn Echinopsis chiloensis would do pretty good. All right? You know, I want to notice too, I mean, much like the California coastline, a lot of the beach here is completely publicly inaccessible. You know, just kind of savored for the rich. You know, nice class divisions. Also kind of bleak and you know, hopeless in its own way. But anyway, the beach is pretty. We did find a nice little kind of de facto place to sleep. We had you know, some couple banging in a car next to us. We just had a nice spot to park the van, but by that point we were so goddamn tired from driving, couldn't find a spot to, you know, to park along the beach anyway. Just whatever, it didn't matter. Okay, so here we are in Central Chile, which is actually in a drought. It hasn't rained here since June. It's been in a drought for about 10 years now. People here say it's climate change, but personally I think it could be George Soros and the chemtrails that he's spraying up there. You know, it's just a whole part of a plot to get these fucking scientists grant money. You know, but thank God we have the oil companies and the politicians that they have bought to show us what's really going on here. Anyway, want to show you a couple interesting plants. Everything's dry and toasty and kind of bleak. It's also about 90 degrees and I'm sweating my ass off, especially since I'm wearing these thick-ass field pants. But I do want to show you some of these plants. Right here you got Puya caerulea, a very beautiful bromeliad related to Spanish moss and pineapple, of course. Also very brutal. You can see the wildlife is probably taken to gnawing on them, which kind of blows my mind, because this is not a plant that you want to eat if you're any kind of herbivore with a mouth and you know, with soft tissue inside. I mean, I guess, fuck, I don't know how they're doing it. But it's too bad it's not flowering. You can see some of the flower spikes up there. When it does flower, the genus Puya has some of the most beautiful flowers. I mean, you got Puya bergeroniana with the almost iridescent blue flowers. You got Puya boliviensis, or boliviana, excuse me, Puya chilensis, Puya alpestris. Just some incredible colors on these massive flower spikes. And then you got Puya raimondia up there, the Queen of the Andes at like 10,000 feet, but that don't grow around here. And that gets that gets up to a 30-foot tall flower spike. So Puya is a pretty interesting genus. Over there you got Echinopsis, now Trichocereus chiloensis, Cacto. It does very well here. It's not really a hot desert cactus. You know, it's more got this Mediterranean climate thing going on. And what else we got? Oh yeah, you got the Jubaea chilensis up there too, Chilean wine palm. Almost looking kind of like a Canary Island palm, except you know, they got a rather smooth trunk and rather large trunk compared to a Canary Islands palm too. Anyway, we're gonna keep going, see what else we can find. Now here's that Jubaea chilensis, that Chilean wine palm. Now I think they call it the wine palm because they used to distill the fruits, which end up being about 5 centimeters, which as you can see from my handy finger tattoo right there, you know, that's a little bit bigger than a golf ball. Now I want to show you the trunk on these is pretty remarkable. Okay, you can see the abscission layer, you know, where the former branches, the leaves break off, is pretty smooth. You know, unlike, you know, you look at Canary Island palms or some of those other hideous palms that are overplanted in Southern California, they don't got a smooth abscission layer like this. This is real nice and smooth, and some of these can get upwards of, goddamn Christ, 5 feet in diameter at the bottom. You know, and I think it was thought too that there used to be a palm tree on Easter Island, you know, before they experience societal collapse, much like we might do soon. You know, they cut them all down, of course. It's thought that the palm tree that used to be on Easter Island might have been in this genus too, but there's really no way to tell because they are all gone. It's extinct. Anyway, just a beautiful tree. Real beautiful tree over there. And again, you know, they're all everything's kind of taking a hit from the drought. They're adapted, you know, to the dry since it's a Mediterranean climate. Winter wet, summer dry. But they're kind of getting the shit kicked out of them here. Look at a nice cacto. Anyway, where we are is we're about roughly 32 degrees south latitude. And, you know, this type of vegetation is all what you call sclerophyll vegetation, which just means kind of like waxy, leathery leaves. You know, basically seasonally dry, evergreen, just the same kind of veg. I guess you get this in California a little bit too. You know, a lot of members of Lycalopex down here. It's the avocado family. Speaking of avocados, I guess they're doing a lot of water extraction down here for avocado farms. So they're kind of overdrawing their resources too, much like we are in California. Just sucking it all right out of the ground. Again, it hasn't rained here since June. And I believe, from what I've heard and read, it only rained 4 times last winter. Their winter, of course, is the Northern Hemisphere summer. Look at this guy, Guanacos, Fabaceae, dentate leaves. Wish I could show you a flower spike, but everything's kind of crispy. All right, yeah, there you go. There's a flower spike for that Guanacos, Fabaceae. It's got you can see that flower spike. Almost looks kind of like an Acalipha, another euphorbia. But check out this kind of papery bark down here. Bark like a birch. Yeah, there's that Trichocereus chilensis. That's a weird one. Can't figure out which way to go. I'm surprised more people don't grow this in California more. It'd do great, you know, in the Central Valley, you know. This plant would do great. And again, also produces a pretty edible fruit, pretty tasty. And huge white flowers. It's so dry, we just seen whirlwinds picking up on it. Just little, you know, dust tornadoes up on top of that hill. Here we go. Here's a nice lobelia going off. Look at that again. You got basically 5 fused, really thin fused petals, and then popping out of that, you got an anther column with a little stigma on it. Pretty interesting. Almost looks like some of those Guanacos that you get in Australia. And then up there, you got a bunch of Jubaea chilensis, those Chilean wine pumps. You can see them just hanging out on top of that hill. Well, now they're coping with the drought. Oh, it's kind of bleak here, just super dry, you know. And then, of course, you can see up on the ridges that the forests are, all the plants are dead or dying. But it's kind of amazing that this guy's going off. This is Crinodendron patagua, and it's in the Anacardiaceae, which is a family of plants. You get them in South America, you get them in Madagascar, New Zealand, Australia, and Asia. And this beautiful bastard actually smells pretty good. You can see these little bell-shaped flowers. Get up in there, and he's got, actually this one's probably better. Nah, that one's spent. Yeah, the flowers smell incredible, rather large, you know, almost about 1 inch across. Got quite a few anthers in there. It's central stigma. Incredible he's going off, and it's a pretty large tree. And there you can see he's got some galls on him. So some insect is using them as a host plant for its larva. Got 5 petals. 5 petals, and then you got the stamens kind of, you know, the petals keel around. They curve around the stamens at the base. And this fucker smells good. Leaves almost look like a coast live oak. And again, you got this, that's got to be an 80-foot tall tree right there. You know, only reason he's flowering is probably because he's got all that energy stores in that trunk and in the roots and whatnot. Again, it's so dry here. Incredibly dry. This whole area is ripe for a wildfire. Jesus. So dry. Anyway, here's a member of one of the only other dryland plant families to ever get pinnate leaves. You know, a relative of guayacum, you know, which you get in Texas. A relative of creosote. You know, actually, it looks a lot like guayacum. The way those leaves fold. Anyway, this is Bromeliads chilensis. And if you get up close, you can see those leaves are basically perfectly drought adapted. They have a way to kind of fold up, almost press into the stem. You know, where I seen this yesterday, and the leaves are basically folded up, kind of you know, pressed against the stem, and we're just, you know, all just as a method to avoid exposure to that sunlight in such a dry time of year. And it's just dry environment too. Guayacum will do the same thing, which you get in, you know, in South Texas, West Texas, and what the shit. Too bad we don't have fruit or flowers on that guy. Again, related to our native North American desert creosote in the genus Lithraea, family Fabaceae. Oh yeah, look at the fruits on the ash plant. You see those? Just they look like little sumac fruits, huh? Oh yeah, I wonder what it's like. Maybe I'll get a chance to find out, you know. You just you get a bunch of oozing itchy boils all over your body, and then of course they tell you not to go in the shower, but you gotta go in the shower because it feels so good under hot water. Beautiful leaves though. Prettier than our poison oak. Yeah, cacti never disappointed. There's that Trichocereus chiloensis. You can see it's got just ridden with that parasite, that Trichocereus. Little red twigs poking out of the tissue right there up top. Well, cacti are always nice in the drought, huh? God, that's so fucking ridiculous. So you can see everything's generally dying on those hills, but you know, back down by the sea of unsustainable agriculture, you can see those looks like either orange or grape fields over there are doing fine, just perfectly fine because they're getting irrigated. Right here you got some alfalfa. Again, it hasn't rained there. They've been in a drought for nearly 10 years. Rained there about 4 times last winter. Barely, you know. I mean, it just seems fucked. So, but you know, you gotta keep the machine chugging along. So, anyway, you can see the distinction right there. I mean, that really sums it up for you. Just dry brown, native habitat to the right, what's left of it, and then to the left, just more fucking. I guess it's lemons or even vineyards too, which is especially fucking stupid. We get that a lot in California. There's more vineyards. Kind of hope they all burn to the ground one day. Okay, there you go. Just a massive granite boulder covered in Jubaea, chilensis, and Puya cerulean. Pretty nice, you know. But again, we're in the middle of a drought, and it's dry as hell. Not much to look at. Also, I just realized they've been grazing donkeys and cattle here in a fucking park. So it's pretty trashed. But you can see all the Puyas up there. Probably nice in the right season, but not very good now. We're going to keep moving on. I guess this ends it for today. It's hot as fuck. And, you know, can't really see any point to being here anymore. Go get some coffee and empanadas. All right, take it easy. Go fuck yourself. Bye.